Catch a Sound Wave, a Generation X based fic. Chapter 1, Jailbreak. On the outskirts of the city of Easton, a well-known safe haven for mutants, there is a facility for those who break the law. It was specially designed and created by the technical wizard known as Forge. Its purpose was to contain some of the more malicious of mutants, and to date only contained a select few mutant prisoners. Each of those cells were specifically designed to counter almost every mutant power out there. The only things they couldn't contain with ease were those powers that were activated by an external stimulus. This has been cited by the fact that its most dangerous prisoner was a mutant known as Soundwave, whose power needed music to activate. Without music of any sort, he was easy to contain. For that reason, the area he was restricted to was not allowed to have anything that could produce music in it at any time. Walkie-talkies were the only thing allowed, and even stuff like humming and singing weren't allowed, just in case a worst-case scenario were to happen. That area was also blessed with extra alarms, just in case Soundwave broke out. The only thing the place wasn't protected against was fools. While everyone who worked at the facility was briefed on the rules, there was always one fool who decided the rules made no sense. This particular fool was a janitor. He wasn't too thrilled with the quiet working conditions, and decided to sneak in his own Walkman to get through the long hours of cleaning. He had done a good job of hiding his Walkman. He smuggled it in through his lunchbox and made sure he used some of those smaller-looking earphones. He also ran the wire for the earphones under his shirt. The only thing he didn't like about what he did was that he could only use one headphone. He at least kept the volume low so no one could hear it unless they were close to him. With those precautions in place, he did his job, scrubbing the floors in the facility. No one paid him any mind, as he even entered the section where stuff like music was forbidden. Even the guard that night was a bit at ease. It wasn't as if any of the prisoners could get loose. Besides, the prisoners were usually asleep at this time. As he neared the cell in the area, he continued to do his job, enjoying the music as he did so. He was almost lost in that music when a voice caught him off guard. It wasn't loud, but it almost made his heart stop. "What are you listening to?" In a panic, he looked back in the direction of the guard, but didn't see the guard looking at him. In fact, he was out of sight of the guard. Soon he heard the voice again. "Hey, I'm over here. What are you listening to?" He turned to look in the direction of the cell, forgetting the music that was playing, as he was still in shock. It was the prisoner looking at him through the bars of his cell. In fact, in his shock at the moment, the janitor only automatically responded to the question, Queen?" The man in the cell just smiled, and it brought a chill to him. The young blond man was obviously a criminal, and the janitor wanted to stay away from him. However, he felt himself getting closer to the man in the cell. Before he could even react, he was close enough to the cell that the man was able to grab his Walkman and yank it off him. The janitor had lost his Walkman to this nut, and he also started to worry about what was going to happen next. Davis Skinner was going to take advantage of what fortune gave to him. He had been locked in this prison for 5 long years, never being allowed even the inkling of music. Now this janitor gave him what he needed to get out of this place. He had to work quickly, however, since the guard might have noticed this problem. He quickly put the Walkman on, turning up the volume just a bit. He was already hearing the beautiful music of Queen. It was perfect, especially when Don't Stop Me Now started playing. He felt the beat pick up, and he used his powers to get out of the cell and rush over to the guard before his hand could hit the alarm. He couldn't let any noise ruin his bid for freedom. He grabbed the guard and threw him away from the alarm. He took a moment and smirked at that guard, waving his finger in the same way the T-1000 did in them movies. He then let the music take him, running out of the facility faster than anyone could react. His bid for freedom was working. By the time the music finally wound down, he slowed down and collapsed on the ground, miles from the facility. He looked around for a moment, inwardly cursing that he didn't focus more on where he was going. He'd have to get back into town, disguising himself in the process to get his gear. He was sure one of his backup sets was in one of his hiding places. Those bad mutants in town knew better than to break into his places. He had managed to make that much of a name. Once he had those things together, he would need to locate the person who helped put him in that place. He hadn't expected the guy he was going to frame for his crimes was going to be the one to bring him down. Big Blue wanted him to make sure someone else was incarcerated. He pounded his fist into his hand and inwardly cursed Richard Cale. Sure, the guy had been a friend in school, but after what Big Blue told him, he wanted to put them in prison, ruining his reputation and maybe the Cale's family. For now, he needed to find Richard Cale, but news about him was kept secret from him. He would keep a low profile for now, until he got his gear and a lead. Then he would figure out how to take Cale down. He felt an evil smile cross his face as he said, "Don't look now, Rich, but I'm coming to get you." He then laughed, enjoying it as his laughter filled the air, and he got out of the open before any airborne vehicles were about.